Well, we're here at the CCA Workbench, and Dave, you know, this is your wheelhouse right here. Big rods.
Well, you know,
big fish.
I've hung around a little bit of them, but I get asked that when I was working at the Marlin University. That was one of the big questions that I was asked a lot. Well, you know, I'm going to go buy some rods and reels. You know, what size should I get? And there's really a whole lot of factors in it. But one of the main things that most people do wrong is they get stuff that's too big. They think they have to go offshore and they have to have all this big stuff, you know, because they're going to be catching all these big fish. And you really don't need a whole lot of big gear to catch pretty big fish. You just need quality stuff. And so, you know, first off, most people start, you know, question I ask them is, you know, are you going to be fishing in deep water? You know, mostly line capacity things. You know, how much line do you think you're going to need? Well, you know, I want to be doing some blue marlin fishing and I want to catch some dolphins. So you're going to be fishing in 400 feet of water, you know, 200 feet on out. You know, you want to have a decent amount of line, but you don't need, if you're in a boat that works, you don't need a reel that's going to have that holds 1,600 yards of line, because you should never let any fish get over 200, 300 yards away tops, which is 600 feet. That's really as far as you really need to go, unless you're, you know, deep dropping and you're fishing at 1,200 feet already on the bottom. You know, you might need a big 50 wide or something that'll hold a whole lot of line. And when you start getting those bigger reels that hold a lot of line, another good thing about those big reels that hold a lot of line is that they can pick up a lot of line in one crank. And when you're fishing in really deep water for swordfish or something, you're going to need a 50 with braid on it or an 80 with braid on it. Now, a lot of guys will use an 80, but it's a big reel and it's a heavy reel. And they don't use especially when you're sword fishing, a lot of guys don't use a whole lot of drag. So my pet peeve is I'm fighting a swordfish. If I'm one of those guys who want to stand up and fight it, you know, I'm fishing with an 80 wide. I'm fighting the 80 wide as much as I'm fighting the fish. When I could definitely be using a 50 wide if I'm only going to be using 20 pounds of drag or less, or 8 pounds of drag or 6 pounds of drag, whatever those swordfish guys are using, because they think they're going to pull the hook from their soft mouths.
You're 100% right. You know, I didn't like the 80 because it was so big. And so as you see, Dave, you see the sticker on the bottom, that's telling me that I have 80-pound mono, top shotted over 80-pound braid underneath. So, you know, I've got, I don't know, the half of the rod or half of the reel has braid.
Well, the braid thing blows the line capacity to all of them to pieces anyway, because you can put on a 20-pound test line, I mean, 20-pound reel like that one, you know, you can put a ton of braid. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is drag. And, you know, I ask people how much drag they're going to be using. They come up with a lot of ridiculous things. I'm going to be using 30 pounds of drag. I want, you know, if I'm maybe using 30-pound gear, I want to use 30 pounds of drag. Well, that's not the way it works. You know, I got this bucket, you know, so it's not even a 5-gallon bucket. It's a 2.5-gallon bucket, and it's full, it's almost full. So I weighed it with my Boga grip. It weighs like 25 pounds. And Rick is going to lift that 25 pounds with this.
Out there first.
He's going to try to lift this off the ground. We're just going to show you what it takes.
But look, if I got to go up to full in order to make it work.
You got to go
look
all the
at
way
how
up high.
much I got to bend, and I have my back locked.
Okay, that's 25 pounds of drag right there.
And that's an 80-pound rod.
How long
with
are
a
you
20-pound
How
reel.
long are your buddies who are out there drinking beer in the hot sun all day going to be able to hold that amount of drag standing up?
It's hurting me.
It's not going to happen. So what you're going to need, you're going to have to worry about, okay, I'm not going to need a reel that'll hold 30 pounds of drag unless I'm fishing for great big marlins and I'm fishing out of a chair or some kind of wild harness that will allow me to hold that amount of drag that this reel will let me use. You know, once you're just overkill when you're using a great big reel and you're only pulling 10 pounds of drag with it, or you're never going above strike on your 50, you know, with 50-pound line.
And you got 18 pounds of drag.
It's just, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. So I always tell people, try to get one with a high rate of retrieve, made out of a good material that doesn't flex. You know, try to get one that matches the size and the weight pretty much of the fish you're trying to catch. You know, you don't need, you know, 50 wides to go out and catch kingfish all day. You know, I have 150 wide on my boat, I have 20s and 30s and I've caught a lot of blue marlins on 30s. You know, most blue marlins nowadays are caught with guys pitching 30s. You know, they're 200 to 300 pound blue marlins, and they're caught all day on rods and reels this big.
Right.
And when for some reason, you know, they've been reading all those Zangray, guys been reading Zangray novels and Hemingway novels, they think that if I have to catch a blue marlin, I have to sit in a chair with a giant rod and reel, and it has to take 4 hours. It's not the case, not the case. You can go small and get around a lot of the pain.
Well, I wish we had more time over here every week.
I
We've done a
know.
great job this season, Dave. Thank you so much.
And Dave, your passion is just awesome. I can feel it from here. I love it.
Hey guys, Brie here with the Texas Insider Fishing Report. If you like what you saw and want to see more, click the subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and comment below for everything fishing in Texas.